And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what?
China.
All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit. Like God's property, it's hard to market. So we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. Cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping close hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the
They don't pay rent. Then the city doesn't have money. It's a chain of events. It's so bad. One rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out and it will end immediately. End immediately. You know, it'll end immediately. We are the party of common sense. I knew that once they had open borders, all of the countries, I didn't think about all over the world. I thought in South America, it's all over the world. Last week, a lot of people came in from the Congo, a big prison in the Congo in Africa. Welcome to the United States. They came in from the Congo. They came in from the Congo. They came in from the Congo. We're going to take back our country, and we're going to make Israel great again, and we're going to make Israel great again.
And we're going to make Israel great again.
We're going to make America great again. We're going to make them both great again, greater than ever before.
We're finishing now part 2, chapter 2. And what we've said so far is that people have free will and their actions are, some are good and some are evil. And by the way, the Rambam writes explicitly that everyone has some good actions and some bad actions. Everyone. Everyone. And he takes it for granted that there'll be a variety. We talked about the fact that this world and the next world are asymmetrical. The next world is where the majority of a person's actions, which determine his identity, are compensated. For the righteous, they exist in the world to come and they're rewarded. And for those whose major complexion is black, are excluded from the world to come.
And you know what else, Jim? I just want to say this to our Christian friends, you know, just to call it as it is and say it straight out, you know, you guys are worshiping one Jew. That's a mistake. You should be worshiping every single one of us because we all die for your sins every single day. And that's exactly what's going on here. Yeah. We're all God's firstborn, and we're dying for your sins right now because the Jewish people in the land of Israel are the bulwark against the orcs. Mm-hmm. Okay? The orcs are coming not to a theater near you, but to your home.
Now, this may come as a surprise to you, but as many as 10,000 Jews served in the Confederate Army, and they served bravely. There was Adolf Proskauer, a recent immigrant from Poland who fought at Seven Pines, Chancellorsville, Gettysburg, and Spotsylvania. Wounded at least 3 times, he just couldn't kill this guy. Then there was Louis Leon, also a recent immigrant, this time from Germany, who was one of the few survivors from his brigade who fought at Gettysburg. Now, he was real hardcore, and 50 years after the battle, he had this to say in his memoirs. I still say our cause was just, nor do I regret one thing that I have done to cripple the North. But there's one Confederate who in some ways topped them all. Judah Benjamin was born in the West Indies, grew up in South Carolina, and made his way to New Orleans, where he also made his fortune as an innovative sugarcane plantation owner with 140 slaves.
Hitler was, and the Nazis, of course, expanded on Margaret Sanger's approach to eugenics, right? Eugenics was a movement that was born in the United States under hard doctrines of racism with the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African-American community in this country, right? To eliminate them with the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah, with
the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African American community in this country, right? To eliminate them.
Run, nigger, run, patter will take you. Run, nigger, run, you'll be too late. The nigger run, the nigger flew, the nigger tore his shirt in two. Run, nigger, run, patter will take you. Run, nigger, run, you'll be too late.
You know what you are? You're an ancient Israelite.
Ancient Israelite, that's who we are. That's who we are. So if you give me time,
But
all that he said,
no, we don't have.
there are so many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of
Yes.
notes. And I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews?
Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
Want to say peace and blessings to you guys. Apologies for jumping on a little late. Just thought I'd do a live tonight. Just thinking about a lot of things, regurgitating some of the things that have come across my desk in terms of what this commander in thief is doing. I see a lot of our brothers and sisters are complaining about the things that he's doing or the things that he already has done. When it comes to trying to erase the impact that our community have on this in this country. From erasing key history within the military, the latest things of what he's doing with the federal parks with Martin Luther King and Juneteenth. I'm going to say this, family, and this is the attitude that we all should take. Remove it all. Remove it all. Remove it all. We will not beg you for anything. And that's what this commander in thief wants our community to do. This commander in thief is running the White House as if he's a mob. And he wants everyone to come across his office and beg. That's what you see. You see mob behavior. And he wants our community to kiss the ring. You can see the jealousy of our community. You can see the disdain that he has for our community. Like Apostle Paul, when he was persecuting his own brothers and sisters, he said he had an acquired taste. He can taste it on his tongue. And the reason why I say erase it all, we will not beg, because see, what he's doing is he's reminding us of Deuteronomy 28:68, further confirming that we are the true people of the book. Because his agenda is not just his agenda alone. His agenda is tied into the 1948ers. See, I wouldn't be mad if he said he's going to get rid of Martin Luther King birthday or celebration. I wouldn't be mad if he got rid of Juneteenth altogether. I would not be mad if they got rid of every so-called federal holiday that they have supposedly dedicated to our community. Because I'd rather for us to honor the Shabbat. That's our heritage. I'd rather for us to honor the feast days. That's our heritage. That's our true heritage. That's our true identity. I know it's going to make some people mad, but, erase it all, because you're confirming exactly what the scripture says. And it's reminding us of the prophecies of Deuteronomy 28:68. And I'm going to share some history with you guys that's going to shut down all the foolishness, because no one can say that they have gone through what we have gone through around this world. Nobody. Not even the 1948ers. So I have a lot to cover here. Got a lot to cover here. And, we're just going to walk it out. And I may do a live lunchtime, around the lunchtime hours tomorrow. If I can't get through all of this, I may just do it over, depending on how far we get. I may just do it again at lunchtime. But I want to make sure you guys understand this. See, one thing I remember, one of the lessons I learned from growing up, my grandmother made it clear. Don't ever, number one, let someone make you feel like they are doing you a favor being around you. And number two, don't even make that person, if you was in a fight and that person got the best of you, don't even give them the slightest thought that they got the better of you. If they hurt you, if that punch hurt, guess what? Don't even give them that courtesy. Don't even make them believe that they even hurt you. She would tell us to shake it off. Suck it up. Right now, we're just in a position now that we've gotten so caught up in the systems of our oppressors. And I'm going to touch on a few things as we progress here, but let's go ahead and get into it. I don't want to be too long. I know it's going to be a little lengthy here, but I don't want to prolong getting started because of the information we're going to share. All right. For those who are interested in our Bible study, Passion for Reconciliation Bible Study, that is our actual ministry. We Woke Now is not our ministry, right? I have a brick and mortar, or we have a brick and mortar ministry. Shoot me an email, wearewokenow@gmail.com, and I will, or someone from our ministry will send you the link to join us on our Zoom. We're having a great time with doing the deeper discoveries. I have so many teachings that I haven't even shared online because that's, I like to keep certain things separate from the YouTube or social media streets. So we do have an actual ministry. We're located in Henrico County, Virginia. And again, if you want to come visit us, feel free to send me an email and we'll get the information to you guys. This weekend, we'll be honoring Feast of Dedications, and we got some other things that we have coming down the pipe. All right. And we're preparing for a major celebration as we have our first worship service coming up, targeting the Passover, Pasach, coming up in April of next year. And we'll do it on our own property, the property that the Most High allowed us to acquire. And if you're interested in coming here to the Richmond area to celebrate with us, shoot us an email. I'm on. So let's go ahead and get into it, family. Erase it all. Tear down the statues. Matter of fact, you could put back up the statues of the Confederacy. You could do whatever you want to do. See, one thing I learned, family, and just through life, if people know something will get up under your skin, they're going to keep doing it. I'm sure you guys have a younger brother, younger sister, or younger cousin that knows, they really know how to get up under your skin. They know how to really poke at you. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? They know how to poke at you. They know how to irritate you. And that's what this guy right here, the Commander in Thief and others from their community, they are purposely doing certain things to trigger or provoke a response. But family, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of Yahweh. Mark my word, judgment is coming. We're going to witness the humility, the humbleness of this Commander in Thief, the 1948ers, and all that roll with them. We're going to witness this. We are going to witness this. So let's get into it. We will not beg. Let me make that clear. We will not beg you or anyone for anything. Let me say that again. We will not beg this government. We will not beg this group or anyone for anything. We're going to dig deeper, family. We're going to dig deeper. We're going to make sure we put all of our faith and trust in Yahweh. All right. Now, I want to play this clip here. And if you can hear it, let me know. If not, I will have to share it again. But I'm going to play this clip. Let me know if you can hear this clip. Let's see here. Can you guys hear that? If you can't, type 1. Did you guys hear that? Did you guys hear that? If you were able to hear the audio in the clip, okay, you guys didn't hear it. Let me see if I can. I'm going to stop it and I'm going to try to share it again. Let me remove it. If not, we'll do it. We won't worry about the audio. Let's try it one more time. All right. All right, let's see here. All right, let's try this again. All right. Let me know if you guys can hear this. All right. If you, here we go.
For a little breaking news, we are also going to be restoring the names to Fort Pickett, Fort Hood, Fort Gordon, Fort Rucker, Fort Polk, Fort A.P. Hill, and Fort Robert E. Lee.
Did you guys hear that? If you guys heard that, type 1. Okay, great. That's the commander-in-chief who is announcing that he's restoring all the Confederate names. One of the bases near here was called Fort Roberts. They restored it back to Fort Lee. So he's making an assertive effort to, do whatever he can to restore, so to speak, or stir up the hatred for our community. All right. And so this next clip, you guys already heard this, and I'm not going to play this clip again, but this is a Jewish historian, and he is sharing information about the 1948ers who served in the Confederacy. There was at least 10,000, and they served in prominent roles, high roles, had slaves, even pointed that out in this video. And some of you guys may not know it, they played both sides of the fence. You have had 7,000+ of the 1948ers that was part of the Union. At least 7,000. But guess what, family? Fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. See, they are confirming prophecy. They are reminding us that there's only one we can trust. That's the Father through his Son. He has a plan for us. He has a plan for us.
Now, let's make.
Now, I know some of you guys probably got a little upset at a song that I played, but I'll get to that in a second. But this on your screen is the original lyrics for the Star Spangled Banner. And I'm not sure if some of you guys know this, is that this Star Spangled Banner is a racist song. It's a racist song. And this is just a line from this song here. It says here, their blood has washed out their foul footsteps, pollution. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. And the Star Spangled Banner in triumph doeth wave. So this is a racist song. This is the part of the song you don't hear in school. You don't hear this part of the song in school. But it's a racist song. This is a racist song. This is making it clear that no slave, and when it says hireling, that's indentured servants, but it's making it clear that no refuge could save the hireling and slave. No refuge. There's no salvation. No one can save the slave, no matter where we call ourselves, according to them, hiding or fleeing to. But they made it clear that they will hunt us down. That's what this song is all about, for us, this stanza. Let me share with you another song here. Y'all see it on your screen? This is the song that I played in some of the clips that you heard in the introduction. I know it probably made you guys feel some kind of way. Did you guys hear that? Run, N-word, run. The Patty will get you. But this is the actual sheet music right here. Can you guys see that? Let's zoom it in. Let's zoom it in. Let's zoom in on this. All right. And family, this is some of my old lessons that I've taught. And I'm going to have to go back into the milk crate, so to speak. And I know we got a lot of new people coming in. So I'm going to make it a point to really go back to some of the older lessons, because I teach a lot of history here. And I have taught a lot of history as well, So I'm going to go back over. And this lesson here is a combination of some things that I pulled from some of my older lessons, so that way I could bring home a certain point here. But nevertheless, some tell me that y'all know the word, won't steal, right? So I'm not going to read it all out, but I just want you guys to see the lyrics. I want you to see the lyrics. And, I'm sure I probably have stirred up a little bit with this, with the powers that be, but just by playing that audio. All right. So I want to make sure you guys pay attention. So as it says here, I'll play this as I read it. Just the first line, right? You guys know how I do it. I like to do it this way. It says, "Oh, some tell me that a
Strong's G 3526 Niger
won't steal, but I've seen a
Strong's G 3526 Niger
in my cornfield. Oh, run
Strong's G 3526 Niger
run, for the patrol will catch you. Oh, run
Strong's G 3526 Niger
run, for 'tis almost day." All right, so that's my way of kind of still reading it. You know what I mean? But nevertheless, family, a lot to uncover. And look at the badge that you see here, the foundation of the law enforcement. You see that badge? That's an original badge, 1858, South Carolina, Georgetown County, Plantation Police. Look at it. Plantation Police, Runaway Slave Patrol. All right, we're going to delve into some of this, and this is going to tie into Deuteronomy 28:68. But let's start with Deuteronomy 28:68. Actually, Deuteronomy 28, verse 49 through 50. Let's start here. "And Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee from far from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth." And think about it. When you think about that eagle, think about the Roman government. When you think about this eagle, think about the United States. That's the symbol of this country. "As swift as the eagle, a nation whose tongue," in other words, language, "thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young." Are we not seeing that right now? With the cutting of the program SNAP, during the government shutdown. And see what they're doing right now. If you guys may haven't heard, that SNAP program, they are going to put requirements in it to where they recertify, right? And that recertification is going to be the way that they use it to further sift those from our community off the system. Even though the majority that's on SNAP are Caucasians, are very, very oppressors. They are the ones that's primarily on SNAP. They're the primarily recipients of welfare, all the programs that they call themselves, coming at us about, supposedly removing us from, they have a greater dependency, far greater dependency on it than our community does. And it's just all about propaganda to give this illusion that it's reverse. Oh, come on. We're gonna keep it going. We're gonna keep this momentum going. All right. And moderators, please pay attention to the chat just to make sure that there's no one trolling. All right. Let me say this, Kyle, and I'm only going to address one troll because you're trolling. Please do not post any of what you posted inside our chat. You're posting Christian Catholic doctrine. What you post is an absolute lie. The Most High do care about lineage. Had he not cared about lineage, you would not see the entire book of Genesis be titled Genesis, even though the actual ancient Hebrew name is Barashayath. But Genesis means gene, comes from the primitive root word gene. So you have plenty of begats and such begat this. Matter of fact, Matthew starts off with giving whose lineage. So please do not post those type of quotes inside the comment section, because those are talking points for of Christianity, Catholicism, even Judaism, because they teach it doesn't matter, because it's the religion that tells you or tells them who they are, a religion, not bloodline. So to make it clear, the Most High always focused on lineage. That's the whole purpose of giving the covenant. He gave a covenant to Abraham, and he made a promise to the lineage of Abraham. He made a promise to the lineage that came out of Isaac, the lineage that came out of Israel. So again, you're entitled to believe what you want to believe, but not on this platform, not over here. Please do not troll with those type of comments here. It's not supported. It's not biblical, and we're going to keep it going. So moderators, you guys already know what to do. If you guys see any comments like that, you guys know what to do. Do not allow those comments in the chat. All right. But anyway, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. All right. Let's keep it going. Now, this is coming from the Tanakh, the same passages. Yahweh will bring a nation against you from afar, from the end of the earth. And so this prophecy is dealing with prophecies against the bloodline Israelites. Let me say that again. You will not see the church teach this passage as if it's associated with them. You will not see Catholicism teach this passage as if it was associated to them. You would not see Islam teach this passage as if it was associated with them. And you really won't hear the 1948ers teach this passage right here. Why? Because if they taught this passage, then it's going to open up a whole can of worms. Because then the question is going to be asked, when were you enslaved? Yahweh will bring a nation against you from afar, from the end of the earth, which will swoop down like the eagle, a nation whose language you do not understand. Verse 50, a ruthless nation. Have we been subjected to these ruthless nations of Japheth? Have we not been subjected to the ruthlessness? We're witnessing it all over again. It's a constant reminder of how our community is treated, the brutalities that we had to endure over time since we've been dispersed, since we've been scattered. A ruthless nation that will show the old no regard, and the young no mercy. Come on now. This judicial system, look how it treats our youth. Look how it treats our elders. Look how it treats our people. How many elders and young people that have been gunned down in the streets here? Innocent. So a ruthless nation that will show the old no regard, the young no mercy. It shall devour the offspring of your cattle and the produce of your soil until you have been wiped out, leaving you nothing of new grain, wine, oil, of the calving of your herds. Look what's happening to the Negro farmers here. That $12 billion bill or whatever that's supposed to monies that's supposed to be set aside to help the farmers with this, the terrorists and all that. They've been getting hit pretty hard. But when you pay attention to it and you follow the news, guess what group of people are being excluded from that? Guess what group of people that are being excluded from that? That's right, the Negro farmers. All right, let's continue. Revelation chapter 17, verse 14 through 16. These shall make war with the Lamb, and for the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Adonaiah of Adonaiah, and Malach of Malach. In other words, Lord, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, right? Lord of Lords and King of Kings. This is where you get the word, the Ethiopian word negus, which come from the root, right? When you say it in Gaaz, is nagas, nagasta, which the Hebrew equivalent to this word is nagad. That very word that you hear me play here regarding Simon, the leader of the assembly of Israelites in Antioch, right? This is what you'll see associated with Simeon or Simon. You'll hear this associated with his name.
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
All right. So when you see Lord of Lords, King of Kings, that's and you tie it into negas or negas or nagas or nagad. That's the head Negro in charge. Captain. That's what nagad means, captain. It means ruler. Think about it. Nicodemus. Nick is the short form Nick, right? It's connected to Nicholas, but it's also connected to the word Nig, N-I-G-G, which is also tied to, as I just pointed out here,
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
Because notice you don't see a definition for Nicodemus' name, which tells you that Nicodemus was the head.
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
In charge. So Nick plus Dominus. Oh, come on now. Yeah, certain things they won't teach us, right? Certain things they just won't teach us, right? All right. Let's keep it going. Verse 15. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. And remember, we dealt with the whore. We dealt with the that seven hills. We dealt with the Roman Catholic Church. And as we see here, it says the waters which thou sawest. So we can easily connect this prophecy that John is seeing here, that he's writing down this vision that he's given from the Most High. It's clearly the transatlantic world war. We can also connect it to the precursor of that, the what they would call it, the Arabic slave trade or the sub-Saharan slave trade, which connects right into or carries right into the transatlantic world war. We're talking tens of millions of our ancestors. This has nothing to do with the church. This has nothing to do with the 1948ers, because as I just pointed out, they were part of the Confederacy. Just like I pointed out, they were part of the what you call it, the Union. As I pointed out, they owned slaves. As I pointed out, they owned slave ships. I could go right down the line. Deuteronomy 28. All right. Going back here, look at it. 28:28. Yahweh shall smite thee with madness, blindness, and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in the ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore. And no man shall what? Save thee. Make a note of that. No man shall save us. No man shall redeem us. Oh, family, we got a lot to recover from. I'm sitting here, paying attention to what's going on with Candace Owens. I've been following that just to see what's going to happen, especially with how she's been going hard, not just with the whole thing with Charlie Kirk, but the thing that really made me start listening, as far as turning my ear to her, is what she's been saying about the 1948ers. She went hard on them, but guess what? I listened to our community. I was listening to some popular, very large channels. And if next time we have this live, if I do a live this after, during lunchtime, I may pull in some of the clips of some of these channels of our own people making comments that she's not invited back to the cookout. But yet they pushing the Democrats. But she can't be invited back to the cookout because, oh, look at what she said. And don't get me wrong, I'm not condoning anything that she said about George Floyd, and I'm not condoning any of that. But let me enlighten you guys, family. We are the only people that behave that way. We're the only people that behave that way. Here it is. This person did more to bring this discussion to a higher level than anyone from within our community. I don't agree with most of the things she teach or talk about, but I give her credit because she stand on what she stand on. She was even called to grift. I was like, well, she never grifted. She never pulled away from her beliefs. She still believed the way she believed on Black Lives Matter. She still believed what she believed on George Floyd. She didn't grift from that. She's still standing firm. Only thing she pulled away from is MAGA. But she's not leaning to any Democrats or nothing like that. But why did I bring that up? See, we're good at drawing the line and disassociating ourselves, kicking people out of the community, but we embrace all the people, including the people that have oppressed us. All right. Well, I'm going to block this person. I got it, moderators. See, those are trolls. I'm not even going to repeat what the person said. That's trolls, ignorant trolls. See, let me bring this point, and I'm going to continue on here. With the things that she's been going in at, as far as with the 1948ers, the thing that's that whole, she's been going in on that. She's also been going in on what happened to Charlie Kirk. But guess what I noticed here? I noticed that Turning Point? They're sticking together. Nick Fuentes, the racist guy who cannot stand our community, who said all kinds of crazy stuff. Guess what? He's now joining with them, made it clear that if they can't shut Candace Owens down, he's going to shut her down. See, one thing we do know about our oppressors They may go to war with each other, but they come together when it comes to our community. See, we haven't learned that lesson. We got family members that we won't even go near because of, and most of the stuff is because of pettiness. And I'm not saying what she has done is petty, but what I'm getting at is we're the only community that behave this way. Come on, family. So let me see here real quick, and we want to continue. I see a couple of super chats, and we'll get back into it. Hello, and from St. Catherine's, Ohio. Excuse me, Ontario, Canada. I want to say thank you for the love and support. Let's see here. I am not religious anymore for many years, but I love this channel and how they explain what they preach. Hallelujah. Yeah, I'm not a religious person. I'm not into none of the religions, just all about truth. You know what I mean? And I learned long ago, you can still have your culture, because I know that I'm an Israelite, blood descendant, proven it through my testing as well as family tradition. But guess what? I don't embrace any religion. So I totally agree with you. Thank you for the love and support, Ambush Predator. Really appreciate it. And I see, both the super chats came from you. And I see here, Nagas, aka the kingly people. Absolutely. Absolutely. Nagas, right? That is an Ethiopian word where the word Negus come from. And you also see it connected to, as we just pointed out, Nigger as well as Niger, and it's connected to the Hebrew word Nagad, right? That's the ancient pronunciation of it. So, and it means captain. And guess what? David was that word is associated with David. It's associated with King Saul. It's associated with Zerubbabel. All right. So really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you again for the love and support. Really appreciate it. All right, family. Not getting into all of that, want to stop pause with the candles on, but I just want to share with you just the issues that we have to show group at noonday. We're all over the place. You had a lot of people during Malcolm X and Martin Luther King time. A lot of people didn't support Malcolm X from the church, and a lot of people didn't support Martin Luther King from, the mosque. It's just divided over what? Religion. But you got a threat that's far greater than our differences, belief system, or, differences of what we believe, that when they see us, they see the same threat no matter what we tell them, what our affiliation of what our beliefs affiliates with. They don't care about that. They just see the threat. But we been programmed to be divided in those areas. These man-made organizations like the Democrats and the Republicans. Anyway, so let's continue, family. So what is cognitive dissonance? Let's break this down real quick, right? Simply put, contradictory behavior. Without me reading all of this, behaviors are contradictory. That's what cognitive dissonance is. Contradictory behaviors. All right. As you see here, inconsistencies in our minds. All right. Stockholm syndrome. What is Stockholm syndrome? Right? The psychological tendency of a hostage to bond with, identify, or sympathize with his or her captor. In other words, this is something that is taught through religion. Religion has taught us cognitive dissonance. The very people that have enslaved us, they hijacked an identity that did not belong to them. And guess what? Created an image of themselves and now call that the Messiah. And our people are worshiping this very image that have enslaved us. Let me stop that. That is Stockholm Syndrome. That is Stockholm Syndrome, family. That is Stockholm Syndrome, the psychological tendency of a hostage to bond with, identify with, or sympathize with his or her captors. That's what we see happening here. That's what you see inside that image. And that's what religion has taught us. Contradictory behavior, demonize the victim, and, victimize the perpetrator. That's contradictory behavior, and it's also what? Stockholm Syndrome. So do religions promote these behaviors? Absolutely. Absolutely. And you guys remember this. This is an article from a situation that occurred in Wisconsin where a guy by the name of Blake, I can't remember his name. It's inside the article, but Jacob Blake, he was shot several times by the police officers. And his mother came out and said, "Hey, I've already forgiven. And this forgiveness is not for anybody else but God and me, and to love our neighbors." See, they bent and twisted the scriptures for us to condone this behavior, condone this foolishness, instead of truly seeking justice according to the scriptures. Anyway, let me go ahead and keep this going. Herd behavior. I'm not going to go into the details of herd behavior for the sake of time, but in a nutshell, I'll read a couple of bullets here so you guys can understand what herd behavior is. Herd behavior refers to behavior of groups of individuals who act together without any planning or informed direction. Individuals often follow the group and try to fall in line with the opinion and behavior of the crowd. This human behavior leads to them being compared to the herd behavior of animals. Herd behavior, also called as herd mentality or herd instinct, is a widespread tendency of people to do or behave as the crowd do. All right. And so this is the key thing that I want to point out about herd behavior. Individuals become part of a group and resort to herd behavior when they feel they cannot voice their opinions alone. Let me say that again. This is, as you see here, what is the cause of herd behavior? And we see this among our community. So many of us are scared to have a voice that may go against the masses. So that's why many feel more comfortable and feel more secure when they are around a group of people, because then they can kind of they can mesh among them. Why? Because individuals become part of a group and resort to herd behavior when they feel they cannot voice their opinions alone. In this way, an individual feels more secure by being part of a group, as in the case of animals moving in herds as a precaution against predators. All right. All right, let's keep it going. So let's talk about real quick the slave patrols. Let me give you some information about the slave patrols, where this song comes from. Run, N-word, run. And we have a more modern song that's, you guys probably seen it or heard it. Well, I'm sure you guys heard it. Used to be a show called Cops. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come from you? That's like a form of this song right here. But we know this song right here was directed specifically towards our community, right? The slave, look at here, slave patrol, an early form of American policing. And this is the oath. This is Slave Patroller's Oath, North Carolina, 1828. I state your name, do swear that I will, as searcher for guns, swords, and other weapons among the slaves in my district, faithfully and as privately as I can, discharge the trust reposed in me as the law directs, to the best of my power. So help me God. That's the oath, right? Let's tie this into Revelation chapter 13, verse 16. Look at what it says. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. And no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. And remember, we have to start with Israel. This has nothing to do with this institution that's been created outside of our community, the church. This is Israel. So this is saying that the systems of men is going to have us locked down to where we're going to need its system in order to do anything. Now, during the Transatlantic World War, tens and tens of millions of our ancestors were slaughtered, were kidnapped, were branded, were marked. They even had a special currency for those that was purchasing our ancestors during that time. You know, those Manila bracelets, those copper bracelets that you see many people wearing, it stems from that. And those bracelets were a type of currency. Anyway, slave patrols. Let's go back to this. Let's go to this source here. Let's go deep into the source. Well, not too deep, but let's highlight a couple of things. Slave patrols, law and violence in Virginia and the Carolinas. I was trying to look on my shelf over here. It must be on my other bookshelf. But I have this book. This is a great book to really learn. I mean, you'll learn a lot of information. You'll pull a lot of information out of this. All right. Slave patrols, law and violence. All right. Let me just say this. All right. I'm looking at a super chat. Appreciate it, Ambush Predator. We are the descendants of the melanated aboriginals of the planet, and our ancestors gave birth to what we now call, well, that's when we're going all the way back to, even with the scriptures, Adam, you know, he's a Negro, right? He's melanated, right? The original people. No matter how you look at it, we are the original people. We stem from the original people, right? And the mitochondria DNA, they call it the Eve gene, is in the women. So I have the videos I play from time to time. So you're absolutely right. Okay. But anyway, let's keep it going, family. And when we start looking at Northeast Africa, right, the original people there, Negroes. When we look at the Egyptians, the original Egyptians, Negroes. Anyway, let's continue. So let's highlight a couple of things out of this book, because I do want to get to the prophecies here. This is on page 12. Now look at this here, family. Again, in the revised 1688 version of the slave law, the burden of capturing runaways was explicitly placed on all white men, all masters, overseers, and other persons whatsoever, who were required to give wandering slaves with no tickets a sound whipping and detain them until the owner could retrieve them. So this allowed anyone, you know what I mean, pretty much to empower others to be able to what? Inflict punishment on our ancestors. And you see that behavior still today of the community of our oppressors always feel the need to have to correct our community. Notice what it says here. Who were required to give wandering slaves with no tickets a sound whipping. How many times you seen in videos of our brothers and sisters going to their, whether it's an apartment, whether it's a house or community, and you have a Karen, male Karens, women Karens, how many times have you seen the videos of them feeling empowered to ask us for receipts? Where's your ticket, as you see here? Where's your ticket? Show me your proof. I saw a video on a police chief a few days ago who was going to his home trying to get inside the building, and the security guard wouldn't let him in. And he was the chief of police. Didn't believe that he lived there. Even when he had to call his assistant to come there, who was Caucasian, and they listened to the Caucasian and let him in his own building. You see this over and over. And you guys probably experienced this before. Hey, someone always feel like at work. Have you guys dealt with this at work before? You always had that one that feel the need to try to figure out where you are. Hey, have you seen such and such? I was coming by such and such desk. Have you seen it? I didn't see him at his desk. Have you seen such and such? I didn't see her at the desk. You walk away to go to the restroom, and a Karen, a Petty Betty, a Ken decide that they want to find out where you are. Always have it in them that they have to monitor us. That's something that's been hacked into them. Happens all the time, right? Okay. Let's continue here. Let's go here. The law now mandated that bondsmen have passes when leaving their plantation. Oh, come on now. Hall passes. We've been indoctrinated to having a ticket or a pass to move around. We was taught that in school. You couldn't move, you couldn't go anywhere without the what? Hall pass. See how we've been programmed? The law now mandated that bondsmen have passes when leaving their plantation, as it is absolutely necessary to the safety of this place. Now you see that they couldn't move around, they couldn't buy, they couldn't do any of those things unless they got permission from the owners. They had to have a permission slip. As it is absolutely necessary to the safety of this place. The historian Hilary Beckles has observed that in this sense, the entire white community functioned under the law as a collective police force. You see here? You see what you see what's on your screen, what I just read? The entire white community. And when you read this ties into the Egyptians. How the Egyptians treated our people. The entire community was empowered to murder our children, starting with the boys, murder them 2 and under, just toss them like they were trash. Read Exodus chapter 1, you'll see it. The entire white community functioned under the law as a collective police force. All right. Page 6. Southern whites feared their slaves and needed mastery over them. The beginning of a formal, organized, and public slave patrol system in the antebellum South can be traced to the private, informal, and sometimes voluntary status of Spanish. Now, doesn't it sound like the oppressors in Exodus chapter 1 going into chapter 2? Southern whites feared their slaves and needed mastery over them. They know how powerful we are. That's why you see everything that you see playing out the way it is in this country and other countries around the world, because they know. But they're doing everything they can to, hey, let's take the straws out of the bricks and make us bricks. So we want to strip everything out of that community. Let's make it so hard on them. Let's see if we can get them begging to us. The beginning of a formal, organized, and public slave patrol system in the antebellum South can be traced to the private, informal, and sometimes voluntary efforts of Spanish and individual colonists in the New World had to experience difficulty controlling their slaves, before the rest of the white community would intervene to help restrict slave labor. Spaniards might entice English colonists, slaves to freedom by giving bondsmen a safe haven as runaways, or by encouraging them to act as fifth column forces during battle. Fugitive bondsmen caused reoccurring trouble for Spanish and Portuguese settlers. By 1520s, runaways already posed problem for Spaniard authorities in colonial Mexico. Let me read that again. By the 1520s, runaways already posed problems for Spanish authorities in colonial Mexico. Fugitives had to be hunted down lest they inspire others to flee. All right. The historian Richard Dunn has written that overseers were expected to keep the Negro cabins under close surveillance, searching twice a month for stolen goods. Doesn't it sound familiar? Let me say that again. Historian Richard Dunn has written that overseers were expected to keep the Negroes' cabin under close surveillance, searching twice a month for stolen goods, clubs, wooden swords. Unlike in the Spanish colonies, few indications such that white Barbadians use former bondsmen as slave catchers in the militia. So what this is saying when it says bondsmen, that is referring to indentured servitudes or servants. They were Caucasians. They were Irish. Many of them were Irish criminals, using them as indentured servants, bondsmen as slave catchers in the militia. The failure of privately paid slave catchers in the 1650s may have influenced the 1661 Slave Code, the first comprehensive law regulating slaves in Barbados. The new law shifted the job of slave control firmly onto the shoulders of all white, not just overseers. The preamble to the Act for the Better Ordering of Government of Negroes, Let me read that again. The preamble to the Act for the Better Ordering and Governing of Negroes reveals the motivating impulse behind the law's enactment. Slaves were a heathenish, brutish, and dangerous kind of people who had to be controlled. Their propensity to wander away from their master's plantation, either to run away deliberately or to steal goods and then resell them for personal gain, had long been the bane of Barbadian planters' lives. Constables and other white Barbadians shared responsibility for apprehending runaway slaves who managed to flee their home plantation. So you see the behaviors that we see today, the Karens and the Kens. Deuteronomy 28:49. Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee far from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongues, in other words, language, lashon, thou shalt not understand. Shema'ah, shall not understand, shall not discern. There's that song again, family. There's that song again. I'm not going to read it. Which leads me to Exodus 1:7. The children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. All right, let's fast forward. Who are these slaves? I'm here to tell you, family, these slaves are Negroes. Let me say that again. These slaves are Negroes. Crane Egyptica, right? Samuel Morton, MD. He was a racist. But one thing they didn't refute is his assessment in terms of connecting the craniums of the slaves, our ancestors here back at that time of 1844, connecting them to the slave craniums in ancient Egypt. Look at this here. If it will be allowable to make these data the basis of calculation for the past 35 centuries, it will follow that upwards of 10 million Negroes have been brought as bondsmen into Egypt during that period. The vast influx of Negroes into the valley of the Nile must necessarily have left its impressions on the physical traits of the Egyptians themselves in modern times, as seen in the Copts and in more distant periods, as proved by the Negroid heads. Look at here, Negroes. Well, it says, but it may be inquired, how does it happen that Negroes or their descendants should be found in the catacombs if they constituted a menial or slave caste in Egypt? This is key right here. Negroes were numerous in Egypt, but their social position in ancient times was the same that it now is of servants and slaves. All right. And you could take this a step further. Let me see if it's here, because it makes it clear that they found no skulls or anything of Scythians in Egypt, right? And guess what that means? That ties into the 1948ers. Look at here. I'll zoom this in real quick. This is just a little bonus here. Since I was here, I like to pull this out. You know, this is how you can debunk the 1948ers when they say they were in Egypt. Where they were in slaves. Where even though they really don't talk about that aspect of it. But look at here. Let's see here. The national characteristics of all these families of man are distinctly figured on the monument, and all of them, excepting the Scythians and Phoenicians, have been identified in the catacombs. The Scythians are connected to the Ashkenaz. The Scythians are connected to the descendants of Gomer. The Scythians, you'll see them all through as we did lessons on this. The Scythians are known as the Khazarians. The Scythians are known as, again, the Ashkenazis. This is Russia, Ukraine, Poland, Hungarian. All of them come from the Scythians, the Normans, or should I say Normandy, the Northmen, which is also called the Vikings, said that they did not see any skulls. This shuts it down. This shuts it down. Anyway. Negroes were numerous in Egypt, but their social position in ancient times were the same that it now is, that of servants and slaves. All right. Now, I'm sure you guys heard this before. You say that you're Israel and Yahweh Elohim is going to bring you into Egypt again. Then why are you in the United States? Why are you in the U.S. and not Egypt? Have you guys heard that one before? Have you heard that one before? You say that you're Israel and Yahweh Elohim is going to bring you into Egypt again, then why are you in the United States and not Egypt? Heard that a lot. Heard that, and especially when dealing with people from within the church, shutting that whole thing down. This is what they would try to use to try to get to get many of our brothers and sisters tongue tied. Well, let's break this down. Deuteronomy 28:68. And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way of I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold makar unto your enemies, Ayabaya or Ayabai, but really it's Ayabaya when you say it in ancient Hebrew, because you don't drop the because of by, they didn't have a I or I, so to speak, diphthong in ancient Hebrew. So they would pronounce the ya. So it would be Ayaba ya, right? In some cases, you'll see Ayaba, right, without the yad at the end. But anyway, for bondmen and bondwomen, Ibad yam or Abada yam, and no man shall buy you, Quana. All right, so Abada yam or Ibad yam, that is synonymous to bondmen and bondwomen. Okay, let me read it one more time. And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way where I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more. Ships. You see, Anaya or Anayawa. I'm just saying it two ways that you could pronounce it. If you add the I at the end, or Anaya. All right. Anyway, for bondmen and bondwomen, no man shall buy you. Quana. This is the NIV version of it. Yahweh will send you back in ships to Egypt on a journey. That's interesting, right? A journey. I said you will never make again. There you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as male and females, and no one will buy you. This is the Message Bible. Yahweh will ship you back to Egypt by a road I promise you never see again. There you'll offer yourselves for sale, both men and women, and slaves to your enemies, and not a buyer to be found. So again, it says, send you back in ships to Egypt on a journey. That's the NIV version, really watered down, right? When you look at journey, right? An act of traveling from one place to another, sub-entry, a long and often difficult process of personal change. So NIV describes these consequences as a difficult process, basically. Anyway, go figure. Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt. So what does this mean? In the ancient Hebrew word, matzar yam or matzar rayam, in the Israeli is pronounced mitzrayim, right? This is the masculine plural. This is actually the root right here, tsar or tsara. All right, that's the actual primitive root right here. All right. We see here Egypt, Egyptos, right? So this is giving us some clarity on here, but it says here, the Egyptian name, Kemet or Kamat, right, means black country, possibly in reference to the rich soil delta, right? Then we see here Arabic Mitzr, which is derived from Mitzrayim, the name of a son of biblical Ham. So Egypt, as you see here, they didn't call themselves Egyptians. This is, as you see here, comes from the Greek word Egyptos, right? So actually, you will see the word Kemet again, or Kamat. So does the name Egypt mean bondage? So we gotta bring this together. So does Egypt mean bondage? Right? When we go here, And we see here, like I said, Mitzrayim, that's the Israeli, or Matzar Yam. All right. But we see here, it just gives us information about the territory, the location. So the masculine plural Yam plus Matzar forms the Hebrew word Matzar Yam or Matzar Rayam. Okay. And when we go to Matzar, of course, this is different because you see the O sound be Matzur, right? But it means a mound, a besiegers. So this is key right here. Siege, right? Defense, fenced, fortress, siege, stronghold. So this is key here. Siege, stronghold. All right. So Matzar means besiege. So Matzar comes from the primitive root tsar or tsara, which means confined, adversary, assault, beset. And there you see again, besiege. That's how they did war back then, right? They would actually, how they siege a territory. They'll prevent those that's on a piece of land or a castle or whatever city. They'll surround that city and make sure that there's no access to any food supplies outside of that area. So that people would, get to a point of starving to the point that they just give up. But anyway, that's a siege. That's how many, especially when you look at the medieval times, and you see those castles with the moats, the water going around it, so they only had limited access to or fro. So with opposing armies would do, they'll lock those roads. They'll take hold of those roads, and they'll put the whole area under siege, hoping that they'll eventually starve, and give up before starving. Anyway, so when we look at siege or besiege, it says here surround. In other words, a place with armed forces in order to capture it or force its surrender. Okay. Crowd around, or oppressively surround and harass. Siege, right? We saw besiege, but we still see it ties into here a military operation in which enemy forces surround a town or building, cutting off essential supplies with the aim of compelling the surrender of those inside. All right. So again, cutting off essentials. That's the key. That is the key. Cutting off essentials. All right. And that's what this guy, Commander in Thief, is doing right now, trying to cut off the essentials of our community, hoping that we would starve, hoping that we would give up, hoping that we would surrender, hoping that we would bow down, to his music. And, that's what both sides, Democrats, Republicans, that's how they function. That's how they function. They do nothing for our community but hustle our community. So when we go back to Exodus chapter 1, verse 11 through 14, therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, right? So you see how they were afflicting our ancestors. They was like, all right, we're gonna turn up the heat. We're gonna afflict these guys because we know the power that they have. Look at here. But the more that they afflicted Anath them, the more they multiplied. Rabbah or Rabbaha, and grew. Parat or Paratza, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. So that's what's happening right now. These people, the 1948ers that are in cahoots with the Commander in Thief, they all are are upset at how we continue to thrive, how we continue to grow beyond all the things that they continue to do to our community. They've been shutting down our community since they have forced us into this slavery. They've been shutting us down. They bombed dozens of our communities, not just Tulsa, Oklahoma. They used military forces on dozens of our communities, at least 3 dozen communities that was prospering like Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma. But anyway, and the Egyptians made their children of Israel serve with rigor, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage and mortar and brick and all manner of service in the field. All their service wherewith they made them serve was rigor. So the Egyptians' goal was to cut off the essentials supplies used by Israel with the goal of compelling them to surrender. All right. So we're not going to go into the details of this right here. You guys know what when we say bondage, you guys know what it is. As you see here, legal condition of a serf or a slave. So you guys know what bondage means. So this is basically connecting and proving that from a Hebraic school of thought, Matzar Yam or Matzar Rayam, and the Israeli Mitzrayim, we know that is connected to bondage according to our culture, according to our community. All right, so let's fast forward. I'm just fast forwarding here for the sake of time here. All right. So does the name Egypt mean bondage? All right. Does it mean bondage? Yes. So you can say, yes, it does. And no, it doesn't. From the Egyptian perspective, it doesn't mean bondage, right? You know, actually, I shouldn't even use the word Egypt. We should use the word Kemet or Kamat. It doesn't mean bondage from their perspective, from the ancient people of Kemet. It doesn't mean that. So Kamat, ancient Kemet, Mitz or Matzar Yam, reputation is connected to Israel because they had Israelites bondage in a siege. All right. So again, bring thee into Egypt simply means to be bound again by the spirit of Egypt. Let me say that again. Bring thee into Egypt, right? It simply means to be bound again by the spirit of Egypt. And when we go to Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14, and we'll deal with spiritual Egypt here in a second, Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh, which he will show you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. All right. Ye shall see them again no more forever. And we know what forever means. The Hebrew word is awalam, and I'm saying it in the ancient Hebrew pronunciation because there's no O sounds in ancient Hebrew or U sounds. So awalam, right? Every letter is pronounced as a syllable. But as you see here, it says eternity, always. Okay. You'll get perpetual. All right. As you see here, ancient time, continuous, lasting, long time, perpetual. So the Kemet or Matzar Yam as a nation had their authority moved from Israel. So Matzar Yam or Matzar Rayam, the nation was not blotted out. Let me make that clear. The Most High did not blot these people out, but he removed their control and authority over us. It was removed forever. So what is spiritual Egypt? Have you guys heard that before? Have you guys heard of spiritual Egypt? Have you guys heard of spiritual Egypt? All right, let me say this here. I see someone posting El and Heru and all that. That's not what we worship here. That is not the ancient pronunciation of Allahayim. Allahayim is the ancient pronunciation. El is a modern construct. So it would not be El, it would be Allah, would be the ancient pronunciation. So it wouldn't be El Shaddai, it would be Allah Shaddai Yah. So just give me a little clarity here. You know, El, again, what they would teach you, when I say they, the 1948ers, they'll teach you that, hey, the Ugaritics, right, right, they used El. And I know for sure the Phoenicians didn't use that, even though some would try to say that they did today. But El is not an ancient term or ancient word. It's a modern, right? And Ugaritic was deciphered not fully in 1934. So I just want to give it clear. All right. Well, you know, let me just play something real quick. No, I ain't gonna get into all of that. I'm not gonna get into that. Let me say that again. And I'm gonna say this real quick. Do not allow. No, you know what? I'm not gonna do this. Not gonna do this because I'm not gonna do this because now you're being disrespectful. You're being disrespectful. I don't need you to be teaching in the chat something that's completely incorrect. All right, family and moderators. If you see anyone teaching like that in the chat, just remove them. You try to be nice, but unfortunately, you know, many want to still troll. And I do that because if I see something, I want to make sure that that person is not being a distraction. So I want to make it clear that person, because of what the church has taught us, when you hear that word Allah, you automatically think of Muslim. No, Allah was a Shemitic word. This is where you get in Aramaic, ancient Aramaic is pronounced Allah, Allah, which they transliterates to the word deity or God for the sake of conversation. So Aramaic, Allah, Arabic, Allah, and in ancient Hebrew, Allah Yam. That shuts all of that down. That shuts all of that down. Unfortunately, people are going to do what they do, but again, moderators, don't allow people to come into the chat trolling with misinformation. All right. So what is spiritual eating? All right, family. I want to apologize. Suddenly, mysteriously, I get kicked off. All of a sudden, my and I know the game. This is what YouTube tend to do. I'm not sure if you guys caught it. Suddenly, um, my internet just goes out. My router start recycling, and I know how it works. That's not just YouTube. That's the powers that be trying to interrupt my connection. And so that's what tend to happen when I do certain teachings. And I'm pretty confident, especially some of the trolls here um, are part of that group that are trying to suppress. So my apologies. And right, I had to literally use a hotspot from my phone to at least be able to connect, because all of a sudden um, my router start recycling and would not allow me to connect to the internet on it. Right. So if you guys can hear me clearly, type 1. If you can hear me clearly, type 1. All right. So what we'll do, family, and I know how these spaces work. I'll do this again at lunch. I'll do it about 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. All right. And that way, we could go through the lesson, and we could, if need be, we could do a special session. If I have to do it offline, even if I have to start using Patreon to do certain teachings, or pre-record this and put it over on Patreon. But this is unfortunate, but this is what happens. All right. But real quick, I'll go ahead and answer this question. Are you guys familiar with spiritual? Have you ever heard of spiritual Egypt? All right. Spiritual Egypt, because we are in spiritual Egypt. We are in spiritual Egypt. All right. Let's prove this. We're dealing with spiritual Egypt. And that's what Deuteronomy 28:68 is dealing with, spiritual Egypt. Not saying we're going to go back to the literal continent, but we're going to go into what? Bondage. Egypt represents bondage. And that's what this means, perpetual, right? The consequences are perpetual. Every time we go away from the things of the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, you see that we go into a bondage. So you'll see, at least 6 different periods of bondage, slavery within Judges, the book of Judges, right? Actually, I want to say like 5. I want to say 5, maybe 6. But then when you get to Isaiah and those books, you'll see the Assyrian captivity. You'll see the Babylonian captivity. You see the Medo Persians. You see, you see it, family. You see the Greeks, and you see the Romans. So we've been going through a perpetual captivity, right? And it's based off of the consequences. Deuteronomy 28:68. So let me bring this point home, and then we could go ahead and, depending on how things go, we can either revisit this tomorrow afternoon, do this over, have a kind of like a replay or reteaching on this. But I'm just looking here. I'm trying to debate. Let me see if this will work with my let me see if this will work with my router again. Let me try to connect to that real quick. All right, now it's working. All right. Yeah, family. Anyway, so from a Hebrew school of thought, Egypt means bondage. Okay. From a Israelite school of thought, to answer your question, Yapa, that, because as I broke down these words, when we get all the way down to Sar or Sarah, you'll see that it means siege. Okay. So from a Hebrew Israelite perspective, it means bondage. And this bondage is associated with the Egyptians. Okay. But let's deal with spiritual Egypt real quick. Revelation chapter 11, verse 8. Let's see what it says. and their dead bodies shall lie in the streets of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Adonai Yah was crucified. So you see that you have what is called, you have spiritual Egypt, you have spiritual Sodom. So we could say that this country and other countries are spiritual Sodom, because look at the perversions you see, not just with the United States, right around the world. Look at the perversions you see in many cultures, many communities, especially when you look at the UK, when you look at France, right? But then also, again, spiritual Egypt. Everywhere our people were was scattered, we were enslaved. Spiritual Egypt. All right. So, what was the backbone to the Egyptians' army that Yahweh destroyed? Do you guys remember the backbone? What was the backbone to the Egyptians' army that Yahweh destroyed? Guess what? Special forces were their horse and their chariots. Their chariots was like us, it was their special forces. So their chariots and their horsemen is the answer. So though the Egyptians were defeated, yet Israel continued to give life to the Egyptians' defeated spirit. So even though the Most High defeated the Egyptians in Exodus chapter 14, Israel continuously kept going back to Egypt for help. They kept entering into pacts. They kept entering into agreements. And guess what? Think about this, family. You guys have entered in agreements. I have entered into agreements, not realizing this prophecy here. Have you know, and I'm going to say this, I've been in the military. I've been working in certain spaces. And it's like, wow, you know, when I start thinking about some of the things that transpired, like I'll just let one little thing that I don't talk about it publicly. I created an application from scratch with my bare hands, programmed this thing to change the way that the military records data, flight data. I created that, still got some of my performance evaluations that documents that. And guess what, family? I got jacked for it. It got taken from me. Literally. Other people got awards off of it. I got none. Not a single award from it. Just a good EPR. Like I said, I still got my paperwork. Still keep those papers. And it ties right into the Deuteronomy 28 consequences. You do the labor, someone else enjoys it. How many inventions have our community created, but the other communities got credit for? We created the car. We created the engine. We created the light. We created the hair clippers. We created the machines to make shoes. But who got credit from it? See, one of the hustles was during the time of slavery, property cannot have patents. Property cannot own property. That's right. We made peanut butter. George Washington Carver, he actually made the paint. He did all kinds of things as far as the he invented, not saying he invented the paint, but he invented a type of paint. I can't remember the details on it, but I know he created with peanuts, he created hundreds of inventions. Actually, he did a special paint for Henry Ford, if I remember correctly, because him and Henry Ford was good friends. All right. So though the Egyptians were defeated, yet Israel continued to give life to the Egyptians' defeated spirit. So when you think about it, think about what's happening with these different governmental systems that we keep giving power to. We're going to break this down real quick. Deuteronomy 28:68. And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there shall ye and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. That key word is quana. Let's break down quana. No man shall buy you, quana. right? Buy, quana means purchase, recover, redeem. Right here it is. It says to erect, to procure, especially by purchase, by implication. In other words, to own, attain. Buy, buyer, redeem. That's the key. Redeem. Redeem. Okay. Who is our redeemer? You have the ransom and you have the redeemer. The Father is the redeemer. Yahweh Shah is the ransom. Let's break this down. So in the scriptures, Egypt symbolizes the entire world, right? Exodus 6:6. Wherefore say unto the children of Israel, I am Yahweh, and I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. And I will rid you out of their bondage. I will what? Redeem. Here we see Ga'al, you, or Ga'alah, with a stretched out Natawa arm, Zarawa, or Zarawa'ah, and with great judgments. But the key here, we see the word redeem. The Most High is saying that he is what? Our redeemer. That's the point I want to make sure you understand. He is our redeemer. So redeem, Ga'alah, means to avenge, deliver, purchase, ransom, redeemer, revenge. So Yahweh Elohim said that he will redeem, Ga'alah, in other words, avenge, deliver, purchase, and provide a ransom for Israel with his outstretched arms, with his stretched out arms, excuse me. So no man shall buy you, right? No man shall buy you. Quana, no man shall what? Redeem you. So Deuteronomy 28:68 is a prophecy that serves as a reminder that there is no salvation, there is no redemption in the systems of men, period. And this commander and thief, along with the Democrats and the Republicans, they prove this. All these political systems, they prove that, guess what? None of these systems of men can give us salvation. None of these systems of men can redeem us, can serve as any form of redemption. None of this. We cannot get this out of the system of men. Guess what? During slavery, our ancestors were, fought in the Revolutionary War. And guess what happened? Many of them went right back into slavery. Many of them got lied to about their acre, 41 acres and a mule, 40 acres and a mule, excuse me, and got lied to. So many of them are owed a pension from the military and haven't gotten a dime. That would be worth millions upon millions upon millions of dollars today. Come on, family. What community has had to deal with this and continue to deal with this? We're the only community that's sitting up here demanding reparations and haven't gotten anything. But these 1948ers, they get all kinds of reparations from a country that did nothing to them. So Deuteronomy 28:68 is a prophecy that serves as a reminder that there is no salvation, no redemption, and any of the systems of men. That's including these religious systems, Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, all of them. There's none, no salvation in any of that for his people. Not even in these political parties, Democrats, Republicans, independents, because even though you can say you independent, guess what? You still associated with one or the other. That's still a party that in itself, contrary to what many will try to say. It's still, anyway, they still affiliate with one party or the other. When you start dealing with the politicians, when they start getting into the caucuses and all of that, they still affiliate, whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans. Same bird with two wings. All right. You guys already, just what I highlighted here, Black soldiers in the U.S. military during the Civil War. Look at this here. By the end of the Civil War, roughly 179,000 Black men, 10% in the Union Army, served as soldiers in the U.S. Army, and another 19,000 served in the Navy. Nearly 40,000 black soldiers died over the course of the war. 30,000 of infection disease. Black soldiers served in artillery and infantry and performed all combat support functions that sustained an army, as well as black carpenters, chaplains, cooks, guards, laborers, nurses, scouts, spies, steamboat pilots, surgeons, and teamsters also contributed to the war cause. There were nearly 80 black commissioned officers, black women, who could not formally join the army, nonetheless. And this show goes on and talks about how some of the things that they had done. All right. Juneteenth, right? Should we celebrate Juneteenth? And I'm tying this all together. Why are we celebrating this? You know, Donald Trump already said what he was going to do. He already put things in place about what he's doing to the federal parks for Juneteenth and Martin Luther King celebration. Should we be mad about that? I'm not mad about it. Because we should not be so excited to acknowledge these so-called holidays. Like, hey, we're going to give you Juneteenth. We gave you Martin Luther King. You know, I mean, we gave you these things that you can acknowledge. We could pull them as much as we could give it. No, you're not the Most High. No, I'll stick to honoring the law, statutes, and commandments. I'll stick to honoring the feast days. I'll stick to honoring, Shabbat. That's why we did away with pastoral anniversary and all that stuff. Because when I really started studying the feast days, it's like, wait a minute, feast of dedication. Hey, that's even better than having a pastoral church anniversary, so to speak, because we're thanking the Most High that we have a place to worship when we celebrate and honor the feast of dedication. It's all about the Father, not about any person, not about the pastor. It's about the Father, not about the building. It's about the people. Even though the building having a place of worship is still important. I'm not trying to belittle that. So I got rid of all of that. Hey, you could go to my YouTube channels and Facebook page, and you'll see that we had pastoral anniversary for a little while, for about 8 years, and stopped. When I started really studying the feast days, when I saw the feast of dedication and understood, it's like there's no need to have pastoral church anniversary, and we did away with it. No regrets. Hallelujah. So look at here. Juneteenth marks the day when federal troops arrived in Galveston, Texas in 1865 to take control of the state and ensure that all slave people be freed. The troops' arrival came a full 2.5 years after signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. Juneteenth honors the end of slavery in the United States and is considered the longest running African American holiday. On June 17, 2021, it officially became a federal holiday. And I'm going to prove to you this is an absolute lie. This is an absolute lie. Slavery existed well past the so-called dates that it gives here. Well past, as you see, 1865. And I'm going to prove it here. Well past. Actually, it still existed well past the 60s, well past the 70s. And I'm not dealing with the 1860s. I'm not dealing with the 1850s and 60s and 70s. I'm dealing with the 1950s, the 1960s, the 1970s. Matter of fact, let me just show you here. This is an absolute lie. This is why I don't care about Juneteenth and all these things. Facts about the Emancipation Proclamation. What's the facts about it? Well, while the Emancipation Proclamation did not free a single slave, it was all a hustle. It was put in place to have our ancestors that was below that Mason-Dixie line to rebel, hoping to get free, to stir up and weaken the Confederate. It was all about the Union. It was a hustle. Look at here. Soon after on September 22nd, soon after the Union victory at Antietam, right? Or Antietam, excuse me if I'm butchering it, he issued a preliminary Emancipation Proclamation declaring that as of January 1st, 1863, all slaves in the rebellious states shall be thenceforward and free forever, while the Emancipation Proclamation did not free a single slave. It was important. Why was it important? Why was it important? It was all about an agenda. Because according to President Lincoln, he didn't care about us. He didn't care about us. Slavery was an unqualified evil to the Negro. Look at what it says. Slavery was an unqualified evil to the Negro, the white man, and the state, said Abraham Lincoln in 1850s. Yet in his first inaugural address, Lincoln declared that he had no purpose, directly or indirectly, to interfere with slavery in the states where it exists. He reiterated this pledge in his first message to Congress on July 4th, 1861, when the Civil War was 3 months old. What explains this apparent inconsistency with Lincoln's statement? And how did he get from his pledge not to interfere with slavery to a decision a year later to issue an emancipation? See, family, Lincoln has some very wicked thoughts about us. Look at here. This is coming from Charleston, Lincoln's speech at Charleston, Illinois, September 18th, 1858. I'm not going to read it all, but I'll just give you an idea here. I would say that then that I am not nor ever have been in favor of bringing about in any way the social and political equality of the white and black races, that I am not nor ever been in favor of making voters or jurors of Negroes, nor of qualifying them hold office, nor to intermarry with white people. And I will say, in addition to this, that there is a physical difference between the white and black races, which I believe will forever forbid the two races living together on terms of social and political equality. And as much as they cannot so live, while they do remain together, there must be the position of superior and inferior. All right. But anyway, family, that's how you feel about us. So Abraham Lincoln's words echoes the same stance in the Dred Scott versus Sanford case. Y'all remember familiar with the Dred Scott case? Right? This landmark case here. I'm just fast forwarding here. Looking at that, no African American were entitled to citizenship. Oh, what's the discussion right now? Birthright citizenship. Come on, family. Birthright citizenship. It is at the Supreme Court right now to do away with birthright citizenship. Many of our brothers and sisters are so focused on what we see the immigrants of today, but not realizing that all these laws is really targeting us. Did you know that some of the people that they have of the current immigrants, especially from our communities, that they have sent out of here, have sent them to like Uganda? Come on, family. They're doing right now. It's at the Supreme Court on whether or not they're going to allow this administration to do away with birthright citizenship. Come on, family. No African American were entitled to citizenship. Let me rewind that a little bit, right? The Supreme Court decided the case in 1857, and with their judgment that the Missouri Compromise was void and that no African Americans were entitled to citizenship, hastened the Civil War, which ultimately led to the freedom for the enslaved people of the United States. Look at this right here. Under the law of 1846, the issue considered by the court system was not whether all humans have the right to freedom, but a question of property rights. All right. The 13th Amendment. Come on, family. This still proves that slavery exists, right? Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for a crime, whether the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. This is where you get the chain gangs. This is why we see that we're getting locked up in droves, right? Free labor, that's slavery. Slavery still exists in this country, but yet celebrating Juneteenth, right? Now, let me show you something here. The 13th Amendment did not outlaw slavery. Let me make that clear. It did not outlaw slavery. So why are we celebrating Juneteenth? Black people was in the U.S., the black people in the U.S. were enslaved well into the 1960s. Look at this. Black people in the U.S. were enslaved well into the 1960s. Look at this here. I know a group of people who didn't receive their freedom until the 1950s. She had me over to her house where I met her about 20 where I met about 20 people, all who had worked at the Waterford plantation in St. Charles Parish, Louisiana. They told me that they worked the fields for most of their lives. One way or another, they had become indebted to the plantation owner and were not allowed to leave the property. This situation had them living their lives as 20th century slaves. At the end of the harvest, when they tried to settle up their owner, they were always told they didn't make it into the black and to try again next year. And see, when I realized this, it was, I think I was listening to, I can't remember what president, was it Lyndon B. Johnson? One of them. I think it was Lyndon B. Johnson, right? Who took over for Nixon. I remember hearing in his speech, he was giving a speech, an old speech. I was watching it. Now, I wasn't alive during Lyndon B. Johnson. I want to make that clear. But I was listening to one of his old speeches, and he stated how they did away with slavery, something to the effect in the 60s. I'm like, wait a minute. Slavery didn't exist in the 60s. I remember hearing him refer to that. Maybe it was like a quick reference. And then I started researching. I was like, wait a minute, slavery still existed in this country. Look at this. Some of those folks were tied to that land into the 1960s. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Most shocking of all was their fear. I saw time and time again, people were afraid to share their stories. They were afraid to give this information to me, even behind closed doors. Decades later, they believed that they might somehow get sent back to a plantation that wasn't even operating anymore. Look at this here. Sisters were modern day slaves. This is an ABC News article. Mae Miller tells it she spent her youth in Mississippi as a slave, picking cotton, pulling corn, picking peas, picking butter beans, picking string beans, digging potatoes. Whatever it was, that's what you did for no money at all. Miller and her sister Annie's tale of bondage ended in the 60s, not the 1860s, when slaves officially were freed after the Civil War. But the 1960s? Come on, family. Justice Department records tell of prosecutions well into the 20th century of whites who continued to keep blacks in involuntary servitude. So the Justice Department have this on record. Look at here, coercing them with threats on their lives, exploiting their ignorance of life and the laws beyond the plantation where they were born. All right, but look at this. Oh, I'm going to prove it. Slavery still existed beyond the 60s. Let me prove it. Let me prove it. So when was slavery officially abolished? When was slavery supposedly officially abolished? Guess what? Slavery was not officially abolished until February 7th, 2013 by the state of Mississippi. Let me say that again. Slavery was not officially abolished until February 7th, 2013 by the state of Mississippi. Mississippi officially abolished slavery, ratifies the 13th Amendment. Look at here. Look at this. The oversight was no small one either. Until February 7th, 2013, the state of Mississippi had never submitted the required documentation to ratify the 13th Amendment, meaning it never officially had abolished slavery. Wait a minute, saying that they forgot to file their papers. After centuries, after centuries, after centuries, they forgot to file their papers to ratify the 13th Amendment. Mississippi ratified the amendment in 1995. Look at this, 1995. So it supposedly ratified it in 1995, but because the state never officially notified the U.S. archivist, the ratification, excuse me, just clearing out the road here. All right, let me read it again. Mississippi ratified the amendment in 1995, but because the state never officially notified the archivist, the ratification is not official. Reads the statement on the website. Batra felt compelled to act to ratify the clerical oversight. So wait a minute. So they're supposed to ratify it in 1995, but it was a clerical error that it didn't get ratified until the 2013. Kentucky officially abolishes slavery, ratified the 13th Amendment. Let's deal with Kentucky. Let's see when Kentucky ratified it. On February 1865, General Assembly rejected the 13th Amendment. All right, so we see Kentucky in 1865 rejected it. But when did they ratify it? Look at this here. Kentucky finally approved the amendment on March 18th, 1976. Let me say that again. Kentucky finally approved the amendment, in other words, ratified the amendment in 1976. So it wasn't just stopped in the 60s. At least two states didn't ratify until one, Kentucky, the mid 70s, towards the late 70s, closer to 1980, and 2013, even with Mississippi, even though they said it was in 1995, but they clerical error, they didn't actually ratify it until 2013. Come on, family. Come on, family. Look at here. Look at here. Ratified. I'm not sure. I'm seeing someone say rectified. No, it's ratified. Right? As you can see here, ratified. You know, I'm not sure why someone is saying rectified. No, it's ratified. All right. But nevertheless, all right, let's leave this alone. I'm going to leave that alone. All right, I'm not going to read all of this. All right, let's fast forward, family. I'm just going to a progression is not freedom. Over 5,000 Negroes fought side by side with Caucasian soldiers with one goal, with one objective, with one purpose: freedom. During this time, there were over 450,000 Negroes enslaved in 13 colonies. So while many of our brothers were out here fighting, to help the 13 colonies. They still had to deal with their people being enslaved. So redemption, God Allah, can only come through Yahweh, Allahayim. Come out of his outstretched arms. Yahweh, Yahweh, he is our Father. He is our Redeemer. Through Yahweh, through Yahweh the Father, his Son, the Hebrew Israelite Messiah, Yahweh Shah, he is the ransom. So the ransom comes from the primitive root word. When we see ransom, padayam, comes from the primitive root word pada, which means to release, preserve, deliver, let be redeemed. And Mark 10:45 proves this. Even the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister, and to give his life a ransom, padayan, for many. All right, he's the ransom. The Father's the Redeemer. The Son is the ransom. We see this in 1 Timothy chapter 2, same thing. Verse 6, who gave himself a ransom. Didn't say redeem. Isaiah 53, verse 5 and 6. Right? Let me see. Let me get to I'm not going to get into all that, family. Let me see here. All right. But you guys can read that on your time. My mouth is dry here. So the consequences of Deuteronomy 28 is Yahweh Allahim's great judgment to a disobedient nation. All right. You guys already know this, Deuteronomy 28. But the key is for no man shall buy you. That's the key we want to highlight. No man shall buy you. In other words, you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies. In an attempt to avoid Allahim's great judgment, Israel will attempt to enter agreements with Egypt, right? And Israel continuously entered into agreements with Egypt. Look at here. Isaiah 30, verse 1 through 3. Woe unto the rebellious children of, saith Yahweh, that take counsel, but not of me, that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, that walk to go down into where? Egypt. Come on, family. Israel continuously had relationships with Egypt, even after they came out of Egypt. You know, they continuously went back to Egypt. Actually, it was the Egyptian that gave Jehoiakim his name. Look at here. To trust in the shadow of Egypt. Therefore shall the strength of the Pharaohs be your shame, and the thrust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. So Yahweh Allahayim pronounced a woe, a strong warning of judgment on the rebellious people of Judah, because they continue to refuse his help. Time and time again, Israel rejected Allahayim, and their heart became hardened. A rebellious Judah formed an alliance with the Egyptians. Doesn't it sound familiar, family? We keep forming alliances with the very people that have what? Enslaved us. Are we seeing this right now? Right now, I can't believe it. But yes, I can believe it, just how sick we are. We got brothers and sisters that are literally pushing, whether it's this commander in thief, whether it's the commander in thief that was forced to serve only one term and allow his vice president to run. All of them thieves. All of them are murderers. Every last one of them. All of them came against our community. Even President Obama, when he put out an executive order saying we'll no longer be referred to as Negro, will be referred to as African Americans. Why? Because that Negro connects to what? Laws. Those Negroes the Negro laws or the black codes, but it was Negroes. You see the word Negroes in the older laws, like in South Carolina, when you see Negroes there, then that means that there's a certain argument that we have, because it's like, hey, we're Negroes, so we're entitled to what? Reparations, because here's the laws for the Negroes. But when you start embracing like modern constructs like African American, guess what? Now you're basically, they're making you nullify your claim or our claim for reparations. Come on, family. Come on, family. Don't feel bad. I had to repent too. Trust in these systems. I had to repent too. Yeah, I voted and all of that stuff. I repented, because it was like, man, it constantly failed me. These liars. Hey, went in the military, hijacked something that I created with my own hands. Didn't get a single recognition off of it, except, like I said, a EPR, a good EPR. That's all I got out of it. While someone got the awards. Someone else, other groups got their awards off of it. High awards off of it. Anyway, let me leave that alone. Judah was facing a great threat from the Assyrians, and so the leaders believed that the nation's only hope was to form an alliance with Egypt. All right, let's fast forward. I don't want to deal with the hope. I want to fast forward for the sake of time. Look here, Isaiah 31. When we go from Isaiah 30, now look at what they did in Isaiah 31. Woe to them that go down to Egypt to for help, and stay on horses and trust in chariots. So now they're trusting in what? The Egyptians' special forces, the chariots, because now their army rebuilt, their army recovered, but they still was not the same. There was a shadow, right, of what they used to be, but they recovered. They had some power, because they are many in horsemen, because they are very strong, but they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek Yahweh. Verse 2. Yet he also is wise and will bring evil and will not call back his word, but will arise against the house of the evildoers and against the help of them that work iniquity. So Judah's hope was not to be found in the military might of Egypt, but rather in the power of Yahweh. What was the backbone again that the Egyptians army Yahweh destroyed? Guess what? It was the chariots. It was their horsemen. So Israel is seeking salvation from the Egyptians because of their special forces. That's what's happening with our brothers and sisters as a community. We're starting to get there. We're getting there, because guess what? We're not marching. We're not going out into those streets advocating for any of these groups, even though you still have some of these content creators, large content creators, channels that are advocating for the Democrats, advocating for the Republicans, they still doing that crazy stuff. And like I said, when I listen to the situation that's going on with Candace Owens, guess what? She may not be advocating for the Republicans anymore. She's not advocating for the Democrats anymore, but she's advocating for the Roman Catholic Church. She's advocating for that institution. She's still plugged up into the system. She came a long way with her stance against the 1948ers, but guess what? She's still embracing the system of man that have enslaved us. Come on, fam. We've got to keep it real. That's Deuteronomy 28:68. When are we going to realize that no man can redeem us? And we're starting to learn it this go round, that no man can redeem us. Because guess what? The Mexican community, the Spanish community, all of them threw us up under the bus. Even the Somalia community. Did you guys see what's happening with Somalia? When they came out back in the election cycle saying they rolled with Donald Trump, and what happened? Now he's calling them all kinds of names. Come on, family. Every community turned their backs on us. And we said, you know what? That's it. So many of us are like, hey, we're not showing up. Hey, go ahead, cancel all these different programs. Cancel DEI. I didn't really hear about DEI until about a year ago. I'm like, what is DEI? Cancel affirmative action. Cancel all those different things, because they benefited from it far more than our community. See, we're learning, right? We're getting it now. Now we just got to collectively say we down, y'all. We are down. We can't do this anymore. Save us. So Israel is seeking salvation by going back to Egypt. Now look at this. This is Isaiah 31 verse 3. Here's the key. We're wrapping this up. Now the Egyptians are men. Look at this here. Now the Egyptians are men, not Elohim. Yours will say God. And their horse's flesh and not spirit. When Yahweh shall stretch out his hand, Yad, both he that helpeth shall fall, and he that hopeth shall fall down, and they shall fail together. We got to learn from this, family. No, we don't need to be seeking the Democrats for what the Republicans are doing. We don't need to be seeking the Republicans for what the Democrats are doing. We don't need to be seeking any of these parties. We need to turn our faces to the Most High. We don't need to be sitting up here like, oh, well, they just doing, look what they doing on Juneteenth. Look what they doing with Martin Luther King birthday. No, yeah, we're going to honor your laws, statutes, and commandments. We're going to honor your feast days. We're going to make sure that your name, it's all about your name. It's all about your word. It's all about your will. When we truly understand that your grace, your mercy endureth forever, not this man-made superficial stuff. Now the Egyptians are men and not what? Our Elohim, not our Yahweh, which means he exists. Israel had to be reminded not to worship and idolize the Egyptians. I'm not going to go into all of this. So Judah had to be reminded of their past, present, and their what? Now. Judah had to be reminded that in this present time, immediately, that the Egyptians are just simply men. Y'all hear it in the conscious community. I'm God. I'm God. The black woman is God. The black man is God. Come on, family. Don't fall for that. Look at here. Wrapping this up. Ezekiel chapter 30, verse 21 through 23. Look at what the Most High said about the Egyptians. Son of man, I have broken the arm of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and lo, it shall not be bound up to be healed. Kabash, to be healed. Ra-pa-ah-wath, to put a roller to bind it, to make it strong, to hold the sword. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh Elohim, behold, I am against Pharaoh, king of Egypt, Kemet, and will break his arms, the strong, and that which was broken, and I will cause the sword to fall out of his hand. As he's saying this, no matter how much power you try to give to your oppressors, their arms are broken. He's going to continue to break their arms, no matter how much you try to help them recover. He says, I will scatter the Egyptians among the nations and will disperse them among the countries. This is why you don't see the original Egyptians there. You see primarily Turks. You see the descendants of Japheth. That's in those territories. Why? Because they got scattered too. They didn't get scattered to the four corners, but they got scattered. Guess what? We got proof that there was at least somebody from an Egyptian stock on the slave ship. Why? Because here's a guy right here, real quick, as we wrap up. Look at here. This is a video about a brother man who DNA points him all the way to the ancient Egyptians. Let me play this here.
Where am I actually from? I mean, I know I'm American, but where my DNA is from? And so I said, well, let me take my DNA test. It was a 23andMe DNA test. And I took the test and I was shocked when I saw the results. It came back and it showed that I was actually a direct descendant of the Pharaoh Ramses III. And I knew nothing of the pharaohs. Didn't know much about Egypt, but everything you hear about, Bible stories and things like that. So for me, it was a huge shock, and that's how I found out about it.
Wow. So obviously you took it deeper and deeper. You saw all of these synchronicities in looking at images of the Pharaoh, how much you and even your brother look like them, and your own company has like an eye logo that looks like the Eye of Horus, unconnected to any of this. So what did this open up for you in terms of your own knowledge and learning about this?
All right. Come on, family. Come on, family. That's right. He looks like the statues. When I saw it, I was like, man, he looks like the statues. Confirming that those statues are Negroes. So Egypt, the nation exists. The Egypt, the nation's existence was not blotted out, but their control and authority over Israel was removed. Let me say that again. Kemetz, the nation, Hamat, the nation, their existence was not blotted out, but their control and authority over Israel was removed forever. And that's what the Most High had to remind them in Ezekiel as well as Isaiah. So their reputation is connected to Israel because they held the Israelites in bondage. So when we get back to Deuteronomy 28, and this is the NIV version, Yahweh will send you back into Egypt on a journey I said you should never make again. There you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as male and females, but no one will buy you. In other words, you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as indentured servants. No, that's not what it means. You know what I mean? Indentured servants, right? A person who signs and is bound by indentures to work for another for a specified time. See, that's what they're trying to say in that NIV version. Nah, we weren't indentured servants. We were actually chattel slavery. Now, I'm not going to get into all of this, family. This is just going into shutting down the Irish, because that translation helped push the narrative of like the Irish was enslaved and all that other crazy stuff. But, I have the slides to prove it, that they were not chattel slavery and anything like that, anything of the sort. So let's wrap this up here, family. I'm just going to wrap it up here with this final comments here. In summary, you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as indentured servants, but no one will buy you. No one will what? Redeem you. There you have it, family. Really appreciate you guys. Appreciate the love and support. Depending on how I am feeling, I may revisit this with some video clips because of some of the technical issues we had, and just to make sure that certain points are made. So I may do this again about 1-ish in the afternoon. But with that being said, family, really appreciate the love and support. Thank you guys for holding down the chat. And yes, it's hard to believe we got almost 400 people at this time of the hour on an unscheduled live. So I just want to give you guys this final words of encouragement. Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 to 14. Fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today would not have power over you ever again, would not have power over our community ever again. For the Most High will what? Fight for us, but we have to hold our peace. The Hebrew word inside that text there is karash, which means be quiet, calculated silence. Can't go back, can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these.
Somebody better call